Welcome back. All right, so 7 games. We're going to recap here. If you're looking for any of the earlier games, you would find them in this same playlist. I've already done the recaps for the other 8 games, so these are the final 7. And we're going to start things off by looking at the Montreal Canadiens at home against Columbus. So both of these teams out of the running for the playoffs, but doesn't mean they can't have an entertaining game. Merzlikins versus Montembeault. Peterson scores at 145. This was the 4th shot of the game for Columbus. Montreal had 1. Johnson and Roslovic with the assists. However, on their 3rd shot, Montreal scored to tie it. It's Hoffman from Matheson and Suzuki at 3:39. Ullinen then has a rush chance that's saved, and eventually he scores. Ullinen gets one from Gallagher and Edmondson at 9:43. Buries that one on a good press. We get a power play for Columbus. That's killed off. The Habs press with 6 minutes left. Savard has a tip shot that's held. The Jackets scored, but was the net off? No, the puck went in before the net came off, and therefore it's a good goal. Marchenko with his 19th of the season from Peak and Bayreuther at 18 minutes. So after one period, it's 2-2. Second period, 13 seconds in, Harvey Pinard. He would score, buries one on a rush from Matheson and Suzuki. Columbus then gets power play, becomes 4-on-4. Everything's killed off there. Strong forechecking by the Habs. The shots are 5-2 in their favor 7 minutes in. And then at 7:13, it's Harvey Pinard from Hoffman and Suzuki. So Suzuki with 3 assists already. Harvey Pinard with his 2nd, and that one scored on a rush as well. Habs press for another, and eventually they get it. At 13:08, Gallagher scores to make the score 5-2 from Evans and Ullinen. The Habs press some more after. Columbus would get some pressure with 5.5 minutes left, but there's a power play for Montreal, and they score on it. It's Harvey Pinard with a hat trick. He had 3 shots and 3 goals tonight. That's economical shot selection. Hoffman and Matheson with the assists at 16:42. With 3 minutes left, Columbus gets a power play. That's killed off. It's 6-2 in favor of Montreal after 2. Third period, early jump for the Habs. The Habs had the only shot on net 6 minutes in. It was a quiet start. Columbus presses at 8.5 minutes. The shots are 3-2 for Montreal with 9 minutes left. And then Belzile scores at 11:48. That one's unassisted, and then Suzuki gets a goal to go with all of those assists on the night. He had 3 assists to that point. Kovacevic and Harris with the assists at 13:49. We then get a power play for Columbus. That's killed off with 2:12 left. The Habs get a power play. That's killed off as well. Your final score is 8-2, so the no mercy magnet used here. Montreal goes to 29-38-6 with the win. Columbus, resounding loss here, 23-42-7 with the loss. So they're still tied with San Jose at the bottom of the standings. Shots on net, 10-8 Columbus in the first, 17-5 Montreal in the second, 8-7 Columbus in the third. Final shots, 32-23 for Montreal. Power plays, Columbus 0 for 4, Montreal 1 for 3. The hits, 18-13 Columbus. Merzlikins saved 18 out of 24, and then Hutchinson saved 6 out of 8. On the Montreal side, Montembeault, another good showing for him, 21 saves on 23 shots. All right, Ottawa. So this is really a must-win, right? And then other results come in, and really this was a must-win, but it is not easy to beat New Jersey these days. So it's Ferguson versus Blackwood. New Jersey wearing the throwbacks, and that's what I'm wearing here. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember New Jersey winning wearing these jerseys ever. And I'm serious. I remember that New Jersey fans complained about these ones because every time they threw these on, they tended to lose those games. And it did not look good early in this one as Tkachuk scored from Stützle at 3:14. Easy for me to say. Sens look for another. In fact, the shots are 3-1 in their favor, 3.5 minutes in. Devils press at 5 minutes. Sens get a power play, becomes 4-on-4, and then with the power play, Jack Hughes says, I'll do it, gets his 40th of the season at 10:21. We then had a fight between Tkachuk and Wood. Wood got the instigator penalty, so the Sens had a power play out of that was killed off. Devils press with 6 minutes left. There was more pressure by them with 2.5 minutes left, but it's 1-1 after 1. Second period. On their first shot, Jesper Bratt scores for the Devils at 2:24. And then on their third shot, Mercer scores from Hischier at 3:33. So a couple of goals back-to-back within a little bit over a minute of each other, and suddenly it's 3-1 for New Jersey. Howla nearly adds another, and then some pushback from Ottawa. Watson has a rush chance that's saved. There's a press by the Devils at 6 minutes, but there's a power play for Ottawa, and they score on it. It's Chabot from Batherson and Stützle at 9:22, and it was at the tail end of the power play. In fact, initially, that wasn't credited as a power play goal, so it's right on the cusp. It may eventually not be a power play goal. They can go back and forth on that. Pressed by the Devils with 8 minutes left, but before the period's out, Kastelik scores from Hamonic at 16:03. He tips that one in during a good press by the Ottawa Senators. Palat is then denied on a rush. The Devils press with 2 minutes left, and in the closing seconds, Giroux has a chance that's held. So after 2 periods, the score is 3-3. Third period, the shots are 3-0 for the Sens at 2.5 minutes. It looks like they really want this, and then Hamilton on a rush puts one in off Ferguson. Ferguson was upset after, completely understandable. Hughes and Bratt with the assists at 3:33. Batherson then has a rush chance that's saved. Sanderson to Stützle, near miss there. Power play for the Devils. Hughes has a shot that's blocked. It's cleared out. Ottawa does kill that off. Then there's another Hughes chance that's held. Batherson's denied as the Sens press. And then after the goalie gets pulled, there's an empty netter. It's Tatar from Hischier and Marino at 19:17. The Sens would call a timeout. Whatever they discussed does not work. New Jersey wins this one 5-3. They have clinched a playoff spot. 46-19-8 is the record. They clinched a playoff spot when Florida lost earlier today, though. So for Ottawa, they're 35-33-5. And again, combined with other results, they now find themselves 7 points out of a playoff spot with 9 games remaining. Shots on net are 11-7 New Jersey in the first, 13-9 New Jersey in the second, 13-11 Ottawa, or 12-11 Ottawa in the third. Final shots 35-28 for New Jersey. Power plays, Ottawa 0 for 3, New Jersey 1 for 2. Hits 32-13 for Ottawa, so they were the more physical team here. Ferguson saved 30 out of 34. He was good. Blackwood saved 25 out of 28. He was pretty good himself. So while Blackwood had some shaky moments here and there, he did make up for it and he had a pretty good night. All right, next up, Toronto and Carolina. So this was a very back and forth game, this one. Very much a shifts of momentum. So it's Murray versus Kochetkov. There's a power play for the Canes, becomes a 5-on-3, and they score on the 5-on-3. At 1:54, it's Burns from Natchez and Gostisbehere. So Ghost, again, showing he can be very useful on the power play. The Leafs survive the 5-on-4, but the shots are already 10-4 for Carolina 4 minutes in. So Murray's kind of under siege in this one. Pressed by the Canes at 6 minutes, Nylander then has a rush chance that's blocked. And at 10:52, Stahl scores from Martinook and Fast. The Leafs look to answer. There's a power play for Toronto. Tavares is denied and close. That is killed off. Shots even up in the second half. Completely even by the end of the period, actually. And we're going to the second period. We have a power play for the Leafs. That's killed off. Leafs press at 4.5 minutes, and they get it. Yarncroke from Riley and Marner at 4:41. The Canes were up to about 15 minutes without shots before they finally got one. Shots are 7-1 Toronto 7 minutes in. Matthews couldn't bury one in close, but then on what was his 7th shot of the game, he scores at 12:41. So suddenly we're looking at a tie game. Leafs were definitely the sharper team, seeking the lead. Matthews has a wraparound, that's held. It's 2-2 after 2. Things look good for Toronto going into the third. Third period, Canes press at 2.5 minutes. Whistles appear to have been put away. Both teams, there were things that might have been called that just weren't. Nylander clears so the Leafs can change because they got pinned down for a while there. Power play for Toronto, that's killed off. And then Nason, completely against the flow of play, gets one for Carolina from Kotkaniemi at 8:13. The shots at the half are 5-2 for Toronto. Fans called one, the referee does not. The Leafs press with 3 minutes left, and at 17:02, as I'm writing it down, Matthews gets one from Bunting and Riley. So now Matthews with 36 goals on the season. And that was on continuation after the whistle, in that the whistle had sounded, but they were like, nope, puck's in before the whistle went, we're fine. And then after tying it, it does not stay tied for long. Sebastian Aho at 17:34, so 32 seconds later, he gets a goal from Slavin and Natchez. He buries that one in close. And so Toronto's forced to pull the goaltender, which means Teuvo Teravainen gets a goal from Aho and Fast at 18:43. I always hear the name that way in my head because of the announcer in the Carolina building. So Carolina survives a bit of a scare. They win this one 5-3. They go to 47-16-8 on the season. For Toronto, 43-20-9 with a frustrating loss. Shots on net are 16-16 in the first, 18-5 in the second in favor of Toronto. 10-7 Toronto in the third. They outshoot Carolina 44-28. Power plays, Toronto 0 for 3. Carolina 1 for 2. The hits, 16-14 for Toronto. Matt Murray, 23 saves on 27 shots. Kochetkov was very good. 41 saves on 44 shots. Matthews ends up with 15 shots in this game out of the 44 for Toronto. So Matthews was really all around it tonight. All right, next up. Vancouver. So this morning I wore Dallas. Well, last night I wore Dallas for the preview that went onto the channel this morning. And I said, it doesn't really matter to me. And it doesn't. It really doesn't. So this game ends up going Vancouver's way. And as a fan of both teams, I'm just glad that the game was relatively clean and well played. So it's Demko versus Murray. And as soon as I saw Matt Murray was in net for Dallas, I went, all right, I might have made a mistake. The Rave jerseys being worn by Dallas. The record with the black and neon jerseys used to be really good. Lately, not as much. So the Stars press at 2 minutes. There's a power play for the Canucks. That was killed off, but the shots are up to 4-0 in favor of Vancouver already. Power play for the Stars. That's killed off. Dadonov is denied in close. And then Suter scores. It's a screened point shot from Sagan and Delandry at 11:28. We then get a power play for Dallas with 2:42 left. That leads to a shorthanded goal. Yep, Dakota Joshua from Amman at 18:24. Vancouver is very dangerous shorthanded. And don't look now, their penalty kill is above the 70% mark. That's the first time that's happened all season. The bar's low. They cleared it. That's the important thing. So second period, it doesn't stay tied at 1 for that long. Brock Besser, about time he gets one. His 14th of the season at 3:57 from Miller and Hronik. So JT Miller continues to produce points. And that one went in off Haskinen's stick. It's actually the first shot for the Canucks, although technically it went in off Haskinen's stick. But then at 5:30, on what was their second shot of the period, Jack Rathbone gets his first of the season and his second in his career from Kuzmenko and Pettersson. I think it's great that Rathbone gets a chance to show what he can do. We've seen players able to play better under Tocchet than they did under Boudreau. We'll see if Rathbone's another example of that. Bud Colson then has a rush chance. That's held. Johnston has a chance to deflect out. The Canucks are picking off passes. Very good at getting sticks in lanes at this point. The shots are 4-3 in favor of Vancouver with 5.5 minutes left. They then get a power play. It becomes a 5-on-3. They had opportunities during that. There was a near miss for Besser. They cycle. There's a shorthanded rush by Ben that helps towards the end to kill the rest of it. But after 2 periods, it's 3-1 Vancouver. Third period. Pettersson has a net drive that's blocked. Glendening then gets dinged on a shot block. Stars press. They draw themselves a power play. Dries breaks up a net feed. Sagan has a blast that's held. That's killed off. Canucks press at 7 minutes. Podkolzin exited hurt at around this point in the game. Hopefully he's fine. Shots are 7-3 for Dallas with 8 minutes left. Domi fans on one. The Canucks clear it out. 6:36 left. The Stars get another power play. Ben has a chance that's held. The Canucks kill that one off too. Stars press, but they turn it over. And this is the thing. Turnovers, the Canucks definitely aiding them in turning that puck over. Goalie pull happens with 2+ minutes left. They're not able to generate a goal. Vancouver wins this one 3-1. They go to 33, 34, and 5. That's right. They are almost NHL 500, and tomorrow they're in Chicago. On the Dallas side, they're 39, 20, and 14, and combined with earlier results, they are no longer first in their division, and they're not that far from being third in their division. Shots on net, 13-10 Dallas in the first, 11-4 Vancouver in the second, and then 9-3 Dallas in the third. Final shots, 26-24 for the Stars. Power plays, Vancouver 0-3, Dallas 0-4. Hits 16-13 for Vancouver. Demko saves 25 out of 26. Murray saves 21 out of 24. So another really good game for Demko, but just a solid all-around game for Vancouver. Who knows where they might have been if they had actually made the coaching change when the rumors came out. That's just, I can't escape that. I know it's in the back of my mind. I don't know if it's in the back of any other Canuck fan's mind. Let me know. And now I need to change boards. All right, so an old rivalry renewed between Pittsburgh and Washington. Pittsburgh almost gave this one away tonight. They almost did. So it's Kemper versus DeSmith. The shots are 3-0 for Washington at 3 minutes, and then it's power play time. First, it was the Penguins. That one's killed off, and it wasn't a very good power play. They get a second power play also. Again, the power play for Pittsburgh has really been hit and miss this year, and it was mostly miss in that first period. So the Caps draw themselves a power play. Theirs missed as well in that first period, and then Letang was denied out of the box. So out of the first period, we know that neither power play is going along particularly well. We're going to the second period scoreless. Strome has a 2-on-1 that's broken up early. Crosby gets hit in the face with the puck, but he's fine. Shots are 4-1 for the Caps at 4 minutes. Sherry has a rush chance that's saved. There's an arm save by Kemper on Rust. Rust has been snake bit this year. Penguins press at 8.5 minutes. Ovechkin to Carlson. The one-timer by Carlson is kicked aside. There's an ovation for DeSmith on that one. And then Paling scores from Heinen at 10-10. That was top corner on a rush. And at 12:17 on a fast break, also top corner, it's Ruhwedel with his first of the season from Granlund and Zucker. There was a press by the Penguins with 3.5 minutes left. The Caps have a 3-on-2 that fizzles out. Then we had a fight between Sandin and Archibald. I like Sandin. It's not his smartest decision. 1:08 left. The Penguins get a power play. So that rolls over into the third period, where Gensel would score from Raquel at 27 seconds. He was in alone. He buried it on a turnover by the Caps. Then Zucker and Fehervary crashed into the boards. That was a scary-looking hit for both players who crashed into the boards. Both of them headed down the tunnel on that. Ovechkin then has a blast that's kicked aside. There's a power play for the Penguins. Becomes a 4-on-4. And during the 4-on-4, with a turnover play, Wilson scores from Kuznetsov at 5:19. So one thing about Pittsburgh, they blow leads regularly. They are one of the top 4 teams in the league at blowing multi-goal leads late in the game. So everything gets killed off. The Caps press at 9 minutes. The shots are 6-4 Penguins at the half. We get a power play for the Capitals. And they showed Ovechkin as soon as he realized there was a power play, he just throws on his helmet and jumps out. Doesn't ask anybody. He just, yeah, I'm on the ice. It's my turn. And who's going to tell him no? Because within the first few seconds, he buries one from Karlsson and Strome at 13:18. That's goal number 822 in his career. It is the 299th power play goal of his career. He's going to hit 300, and nobody's close. And then Strome at 17:16 scores from Sherry and Aube-Kubel. That completes the collapse. It's a 3-3 tie. And honestly, I thought, well, I guess we're going to overtime. However, Mantha with an egregious turnover ends up handing it off to Malkin. You don't give the puck to Malkin, and Malkin gets his 25th of the year at 18:40. Washington would pull the goaltender. Ultimately, they could not tie the game. Your final score is 4-3 for Pittsburgh. They go 36. They go to 36, 27, and 10 with the win. Very disappointing loss for Washington, 34, 32, and 8. You could tell by the emotion on the Washington bench. They wanted this one. They don't get it. Shots on net, 13-9 Pittsburgh in the first, 15-14 Pittsburgh in the second, 12-11 Penguins in the third. Final shots, 40-34 for Pittsburgh. Power plays, 1-for-3 for Washington, 1-for-4 for Pittsburgh. Hits, 31-28 for Washington. Kemper saves 36 out of 40, and DeSmith saved 31 out of 34. So big 2 points for Pittsburgh, and they're in pretty good shape right now when it comes to the playoff run. Or playoff spot, I guess we could say. All right, next up, Vegas and Edmonton. Boy, was this a thriller. This was a really fun game. Brossoit versus Skinner, and it looked like this one might end up like 8-7 or 10-9, because on the first shot from a sharp angle, Eichel scores. Marchessault and Barbashev with the assists at 1:01. The Oilers looked to answer. They would answer on their first shot. Hyman from Draisaitl and Nugent-Hopkins at 3:28. So again, both goaltenders allow goals on the first shots. It looked like we might have a really rough night. It did not turn out that way. The Oilers look for the lead. There's a press by Edmonton 7 minutes in. There was a power play for the Oilers. That's killed off. The shots were up to 6-2 in favor of the Oilers at that point. McNabb then denies Draisaitl. He was the one that kicked the puck aside. Otherwise, it probably would have gone in. Press by Vegas with 9 minutes left. The Oilers then get a press of their own with 7.5 minutes left. But Vegas would get a power play and they would score on it. It's Dorofeev, who's been great since getting called up. Scores from Karlsson and Kessel at 16:27. The Oilers then press with a minute and a half left, but it's 2-1 Vegas after one. Second period, early chance for Nurse. That was saved. Kane then fires one wide on a rush. The shots are 4-2 for the Oilers, 3.5 minutes in. Oilers press at 7 minutes. Eventually they get a power play, and they score on it. A good cycle and a one-timer by Draisaitl from McDavid and Bouchard at 10:30. Dorofeev was then denied on a 2-on-1. A near miss for Draisaitl as the Oilers press, and then Raw had a wraparound. That was saved, and after 2 periods, we are looking at a 2-2 tie. Third period, pressed by Vegas at a minute and a half. Was denied on a net drive. Kane had a shot that was blocked and cleared out. Hutton has a net feed that's picked off. The shots are 4-1 Vegas at 5 minutes, and at 6:57, they get the lead. It's Marchessault. It's a one-timer from the slot from Eichel and Theodore. The Oilers nearly answered right away on the next shift. I think it was Hyman that was denied there. But eventually they do. Fogle scores from Nurse at 11:19 on a puck that almost was captured by Brossoit, but almost isn't saved, is it? We then get a power play for Vegas. That led to the ref you suck chance. So I'm sure he was probably really upset about that. I mean, it has to hurt referees' feelings. At any rate, I was killed off. It was a pretty good kill there by the Oilers to get that done. Things then get pushy on a hold by Skinner, so it's a 4-on-4 to end out the third period and to start the overtime. The Oilers controlled early. McDavid's denied. Vegas rushes. There's a near miss for Ekholm. And then, wow, buries one in close from Eichel at 226. No chance for Skinner there. Your final score is 4-3 for Vegas. They go to 46, 21, and 6 with the overtime win, with the overtime loss. 41, 24, and 6 for the Edmonton Oilers. So the shots on net are 14-9 for Edmonton in the first, 9-8 Edmonton in the second, 14-5 Vegas in the third, and in the overtime 4-1 Vegas. They were not going to be denied. Final shots 35-29 for the Golden Knights. Both teams go 1 for 2 on the power play. Hits 35-25 Edmonton. Brossoit looked good, 26 saves on 29 shots. Skinner 31 saves on 35 shots. He was good too. And again, I don't know how he would have stopped that raw chance. That was more of a defensive miscue than it was any problem for Skinner there. All right, and the last game reviewed today, the 15th game, is St. Louis and the Anaheim Ducks. I know, saved the best for last, NHL. Binnington versus Gibson. Blaine has a net crash that leads to the Ducks power play because you can't run a goalie over like that. And on their first shot, Troy Terry scores one from Shattenkirk and Silverberg at 146. But then 15 seconds later, Jacob Vrana answers. He gets that one from Falk and Shen. And then Anaheim would answer that on what was Nesterenko's first goal on the third shot for Anaheim at 4:05. So again, it looked like this one could have a ton of goals in it. It does have a bunch, but it could have had way more. So Nesterenko gets that one from McTavish and Terry to put Anaheim back in the lead. Vrana's then denied from the slot. Comtois with a net crash. That's goalie interference. And I was kind of surprised it didn't lead to any fighting. Both teams guilty of goalie interference, and no fighting came out of it. I'm honestly really surprised. So the Blues have the power play, but that then becomes a minute and 29 seconds of 4-on-4. Everything's killed off there. The shots are 12-6 for the Blues with 6 minutes left. And then Blaine scores one from Kapanen and Parayko at 15-14 to put the Blues into a tie. And then they get the lead. Shen wires one on the rush from Falk at 15-33. And then Kapanen nearly gets another. Kapanen has been much better since leaving Pittsburgh. There's an indictment of Pittsburgh in there somewhere that these guys who've left have generally played better. So it's 3-2 for St. Louis after one. Second period. On the first shot, it goes in. Shen from Vrana and Parayko at 102. And then on their second shot, it kind of takes a bit of a Blues bounce here. Goes in off Kapanen and skate. Krug and Blaine with the assists. So 2 goals on 2 shots. Shen was then denied and close on a rush. We get a power play for the Ducks. That leads to a shorthanded chance for Buchnevich. That was saved. That power play's killed off. Ducks press with 9 minutes left. With 1:16 left, the Ducks get a power play. That becomes a minute and 20 seconds of 4-on-4. So the 4-on-4 rolls over into the third period, where the Ducks allow another one early. It's Kapanen with his second goal of the game from Leddy and Parayko at 15 seconds. So Kapanen, I think that's 6 goals for him with St. Louis so far. Not bad. But everything's killed off there. And then at 5:39, Anaheim gets one of them back. It's Strome from Zegras and Jones. We then get a power play for the Blues. That's killed off. There really wasn't much going on because really the Blues are up by 3. So I don't think they were overly worried about getting a power play goal there. There's a delay game call. The Blues get the power play. It's much the same. That's killed off as well. With 3:23 left, the Ducks get a power play. They're not able to generate much there. That's killed off. And your final score is 6-3. St. Louis is back to NHL 500. 33, 33, and 6 on the season. For Anaheim, they're 23, 40, and 10. So both St. Louis and Vancouver going on kind of runs here at the end of the season when they're already out of the running. So your shots on net are 17-11 for St. Louis in the first, 12-7 St. Louis in the second. Both teams had 7 shots in the third. Final shots 36-25 for St. Louis. Power plays 0-4 for St. Louis, 1-5 for Anaheim. The hits 11-6 for St. Louis. Not a very physical game despite the running of the goaltenders. Binnington 22 saves on 25 shots and Gibson 30 saves on 36 shots. So they didn't allow 50 tonight. That's something, but that Anaheim defense was not good tonight. Brian Hayward continually talking about the turnovers. Every turnover was in the slot in front of their net. You can't do that. I understand they're way out of the race and all that. That's just not good. At any rate, let me know your thoughts regarding these games in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I survived another Saturday. I will talk to you again soon.